Hey folks, Matthew here, doing the belated but promised Star Citizen Alpha 2.0 video. Well, I say Alpha 2.0, I'm calling this Alpha 2.x because it's now Star Citizen Alpha 2.1.2, so a couple of things have been added, but it hasn't substantially changed what I was going to talk about, just added a few things. So, let's dive right in with what has remained the same, broadly speaking. The hangars got some changes to lighting, a few changes in prop placement, but you'd recognize it from the last one. ArcCorp similarly, broadly the same. Arena Commander is also broadly the same modes. Something that has changed, which will feed back in, is the flight model, but we'll talk about that later. And there's still no Star Marine as of yet, but that doesn't matter for reasons I'll get into in a minute. But that's enough about what's the same. What's different? Well, the main change, the big signature feature, is the addition of the mini PU. PU standing for Persistent Universe, of course. In this mini Persistent Universe, you start in orbit of a planet called Crusader, which is the second planet in the Stanton system. You may remember that the planet ArcCorp is Stanton 3, a different planet in the same system. You can't travel between the two planets as of yet, that's something for the future. What you can do is you start on a station called Port Olisar in orbit of Crusader, and you have a look around. Not much here to interact with except for the consoles in the middle of the station, or the middle of this area of the station, which allow you to spawn your ship and then go out and explore what little section of the verse has been made available. Interestingly enough, although everyone's confined to one section of Port Olisar, there seems to be 2 or 3 other sections which are broadly the same, so I'm guessing that in the future they'll expand to these other sections to allow many more people to enter the same area, but for now it's relatively limited. That's your spawning. What can you do in the baby PU? Well, you can visit a place called Security Post Karesh, which is intended to be the lawless PvP zone, which is where you go for your FPS fights, and also pick up an assault rifle if you want. This sort of works as the Star Marine testbed. Many of the mechanics that will be in Star Marine aren't in the game yet, so this works as a sort of stopgap measure. And it makes for some tense moments, it has to be said. Even though there generally isn't anything going on there, even just a group of people together wandering around this claustrophobic, quiet, yet creaky station makes for some tense moments, it has to be said. If you're not into the multiplayer PvP aspect, there's also the Covalex shipping hub, which is the main story mission, which if you follow my channel you may have seen me undertake that particular mission in the last Star Citizen video that I did, so I'll put a link to it somewhere on screen. Aside from that, there's also a set of comm arrays dotted around the world which are offline and you're tasked with bringing them back online. Now you might want to do this because, well, as Chris explained in a recent tent for the chairman, the comm arrays act to relay information between deep space and the security services, so ne'er-do-wells might want to take them offline to hide their activities. So it's up to the authorized individuals to bring these arrays back online, and this will spawn other missions. I haven't really explored the comm arrays too much as of yet, but I look forward to doing that in the future. Your ships can also be damaged. Now I'm flying my damaged Mustang. How it got to be damaged I'll explain in a bit. But if you fly up to one of the Cry-Astral repair stations, then some drones will come along and fix your ship for you. Unfortunately, the Cry-Astral repair stations are not armistice zones, unlike Port Olisar, which is. Attempting to land to repair your ship might actually get your ship blown up because people troll people. That's what happens. They'll probably fix that in the future. For now, they're taking the approach of as open a sandbox as possible, and will add layers of security on after the fact rather than an initially restrictive system that they'll expand out. Which is the sensible way to do it, I think. The other main area of note is the Yela asteroid belt, which is the asteroid belt around the moon of Crusader called Yela, or Yela, Y-E-L-A. I don't know if there's anything there. I've been there a few times, mostly just ran into random people and shot at them for a bit. Maybe some ships spawned there, some salvageable ships, I don't know. They did have a salvageable retaliator in one of the demos that they did. Whether that's a thing, I don't know. Something to look at in the future. It is possible to approach Crusader and Yela, but if you get too close then your ship will start to break up and eventually explode. Which is a shame, because I do want to visit Crusader. Crusader, the company, makes spaceships, cruise liner spaceships specifically, and it's been partially terraformed, so the atmosphere is actually breathable. So I would very much like to visit the shipyards on Crusader, but that's something for me to do in a future version of the game. The other big change to note is the flight model. This version of the flight model is closer to what the final version will be in the game. There's a post on the website detailing all the changes, which I will put a link to somewhere. But to summarize, there are now 4 speed modes. There's precision mode, which you will use for landing and very tight maneuvering. It's a very low speed cap. The one we had before has been renamed to Space Combat Maneuvering. That's the general one that you'll use if you're in combat. If you want to put all of your power into going in a straight line, then you can use Cruise Mode, which has a much higher top speed, but basically kills your ability to turn. And there's also the Quantum Travel, which is basically your warp that allows you to go quickly between points of interest like the aforementioned repair stations, comm arrays, Covalex shipping hub, etc. There is also an afterburner, which I only recently found out about, which acts similarly to the boost but gives you a much higher acceleration. It makes racing different, because the afterburner affects your top speed. The reason for that is mass and acceleration now seem to feature in the top speed of your ship. It used to be the case that taking off sections of your ship would affect the top speed of your ship. I did try and set up a system to demonstrate that fact, but I think it's bugged because, as you can see, I'm blowing up bits of my Mustang, and it isn't affecting the top speed at all, and I tend to just blow up my ship, so I kept respawning, and when I did get it to work, it didn't really work, so I assume the system is bugged. That's what I'm assuming anyway. Maybe that itself was a bug, and they fixed it. I don't think so. I think the intention was that losing part of your ship will affect the mass, therefore will affect your top speed. That's the idea anyway. And this flight model is also present in Arena Commander, although you generally stay in space combat mode for your flying unless you're landing in free flight mode, in which case you probably want to use precision. I think cruise is disabled. Certainly quantum travel, there's nowhere to quantum to, you instantly leave the map basically. And I think cruise is basically pointless, so I think it's disabled. I'm not 100% sure about that though, but certainly in all the times I've played it, I've basically stayed in space combat maneuvering. I think I've done 1 or 2 free flights, but that's about it. The final big introduction is the first wave of multi-crew ships, which started out with the Constellation and the Retaliator as the two main ones, the two exemplar multi-crew ships, and with 2.1, among others, they introduced the Freelancer, or at least the base model redesigned Freelancer. So that was the one I was interested in, having a Freelancer myself. And if we take a look around, we can see that the different stations on the Freelancer, you have like the pilot's chair, who does targeting and weapons. And you have the co-pilot's chair that basically does shields. The co-pilots generally deal with shields. I'm not quite sure why. The UI for multi-crew ships in general is still very much a work in progress. I read the article they did on it way back when, and it sounds quite interesting, sort of a very Artemis-like, which works really well, so I'm looking forward to seeing that. And also good news, the turret now works, so it's not just a cosmetic thing, there is now an actual reason for using the turret. I would fire the turret, but for some reason, power on the ship is tied to occupancy of the pilot seat. If there's no pilot, there's no power, so the weapons on the turret don't work if there's no pilot. And that's it, basically. That's a brief overview of the features that they added in Star Citizen Alpha 2.0 and 2.1 and so forth. Thanks for watching. Please like the video, comment, subscribe, etc. If you want to find out more about Star Citizen, you can go to robertspaceindustries.com. And if you want to keep up to date with what I'm up to, then please follow me on Twitter at neo_venator. Thanks again for watching, and I shall see you in the verse.